Hello, my name is Linda Moore. I'm the COO here at Siegel Services, and I welcome you to the Reading Corner. I'd like to read a book, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along. The name of the book is Pocahontas, and it's in her words, written by George Sullivan. Today we're going to start with the introduction. She was probably round-faced with thick black hair, shaven close. She was of a color brown. She had handsome limbs and slender arms. These and her face may have been heavily tattooed. She probably wore a headband decorated with beads and earrings. Her head and shoulders may have been coated with red powder. This had been mixed with the oil of the walnut or bear's grease. She was unusual for her wit and spirit. Her name was Matua, but she was nicknamed Pocahontas. It meant playful, sportive, and frisky. These descriptive words and phrases are from books written over 400 years ago. The story of Pocahontas is well known. She was the dearest daughter of the Native American chief Powhatan. She probably saw white men for the first time in 1607 when English settlers landed at what was today to become Jamestown, Virginia. Pocahontas is believed to have performed a great act of courage in 1608. She may have saved the life of Captain John Smith just as he was about to be clubbed to death by her father's warriors. Jamestown is now looked upon as the first permanent English settlement in North America. Pocahontas played a vital role in Jamestown's success. She helped supply the colonists with food. She warned Captain Smith of her father's plans that put his life in danger. Pocahontas later married a colonist. To the English, she became a symbol of the blending of the Native American and European cultures. Much of what we know about Pocahontas comes from efforts of John Smith. He wrote nearly a dozen books and reported about the English colonies in America. William Strachey, a colonist who wrote about Pocahontas. He arrived in Jamestown in 1610. He was the colony's historian. In a book he wrote about Virginia, he repeated stories about Pocahontas told to him by other colonists. The book by Smith and Strachey are primary sources. In their efforts to learn about a person or the past, historians use both primary sources and secondary sources. Primary sources are actual records that have been handed down to us from former times. Secondary source is a secondhand source. It is the description of an event by someone who did not witness the event. A history textbook is a secondary source. So are the World Book and other encyclopedias. Modern magazine articles or books about Pocahontas are secondary sources. There are many different types of primary sources too. Books are merely the best known. Reports, diaries, speeches, letters, and poems that date to the time are primary sources. Newspapers are also primary sources. So are printed portraits, business cards, marriage license, high school yearbooks, and movie tickets. Thanks to a primary source, we have an idea of what Pocahontas looked like. A young Dutch artist named Simon van der Pas sketched Pocahontas' portrait. She was in England at the time. She is dressed as an English noblewoman. Van der Past's drawing was published in 1616. It has been copied and recopied countless times in the centuries since. When working with a primary source, try to understand as much as you can about it. When was it created? Why was it created? For example, facts put forth by John Smith are sometimes questioned. He first told of being rescued by Pocahontas in 1624. Pocahontas was no longer living. Neither were any of the others involved in the rescue. Smith had written of the colony earlier in 1607. He told the story of his capture by Pocahontas, but he made no mention of the rescue. Why did Smith wait so long to tell the story of being saved by Pocahontas? Had he heard the tale from others? Was he merely repeating it to make a more colorful story? Or was it actual fact? Nobody knows for sure. None of the details of Pocahontas' life come from her own words. We have to look to John Smith, William Scatchie, and others for this information. Sadly, they left some gaps in Pocahontas' life. We have to rely on historians to fill in the gaps. From these many sources, we are able to tell the story of Pocahontas and get a sense of what she was really like. That is the end of the introduction, but I'd like to share with you a picture of Pocahontas. This is the sketch that was done by Mr. Van der Past. Remember, she may not look like an Indian right now because this was sketched in England and she was considered a noblewoman at that time. But that's Pocahontas. Thank you for joining us in the Reading Corner, and I hope to see you back real soon when we will read chapter 1.